What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here is Legitical Response. I cover political news, and folks, the corporate press, it's election season, so we got the corporate press. They're in full swing. They're in full-out propaganda mode. They are trying to propagandize everybody. We've got this article that come out from Axios that's quite insane. It's quite funny, and when you do a little bit of research into this article itself, come to find out it's based on speculation, and they're trying to pass it off as fact. Surprise, surprise. Here we go, y'all. This is just great, man. You've got to love the corporate press and how they try to lie, how they try to propagandize everybody. And it's like it doesn't take much intelligence, much thought process to look at what they say and be like, hang on just a second. Let me think about this for a second. And when you think about it, it's like, okay, this doesn't make any freaking sense. But let's check it out, y'all. Check it out. We got this from Axios. Trump plans would add $5.8 trillion to national debt. And something you're going to hear a lot about is, well, hang on. You're going to hear that a lot today. You're going to hear, well, hang on. Well, this is based off of something else, something totally different. That's why I say this is all just, it's speculation, essentially, because it's based on a false reality. It's not based anywhere in actual reality. Sure, this might be their actual plans, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that. Y'all gonna love this. This is just great. The way they're trying to propagandize everybody is insane. Y'all like get it just on its face right off. Think about this, right? Like look at the last 4 years we've had. Right, we've had banks failing all over the place. The economy's in shambles. We had inflation rise up to 9%. Biden administration did absolutely nothing about it. You know, everything, the cost of everything has risen through the freaking roof. On average, everything is like 25 to 30% higher than it was three years ago before the inflation. As a matter of fact, right at the beginning of Biden's administration. Yeah, so everything's a lot higher than it was. Okay, now go to the 4 years before that. Under Trump, we had the best economy we've ever had. Now, granted, he spent a lot of money. Sure, we had an economy that was freaking rocking and rolling, y'all. So, hey, you know, give him a little bit of leeway on that. You shouldn't have spent that money. I'll grant that. I rail constantly against deficit spending because it's ridiculous, it's stupid, and nobody should do it. And as a matter of fact, Donald Trump did do that. And when he gets into office, if he does any sort of deficit spending, I'm going to be right here, sitting here, railing against that. So any of you Trumpers out there, get ready for that because I don't like deficit spending whatsoever. I think it's ridiculous. Don't know why we do it. It only causes more inflation, but the Biden administration is really good at this. Hopefully Trump doesn't do it. And, you know, with the way the economy is right now, he probably won't. But that's actually going to come up in this story. So let's get into it, y'all. Donald Trump's campaign promises would send the national debt soaring much faster than Kamala Harris's would, per two new analyses from the Penn-Wharton budget model. Both of them increase the deficit relative to the current baseline. Why it matters. You like that? Why it matters. Well, of course it freaking matters. Matters a lot. The deficit going up. Donald Trump, come on, dude. No, this is BS, folks. That I don't know where they're getting that $5.8 trillion number from, but it's made up, as a matter of fact. They just made that up. You will see. We will get into that. When the government gives money to individuals and businesses, as both candidates propose, that's good for the recipients and broadly good for the economic growth, but it also accelerates the growth of the national debt, which is already at worrisome levels. What they found: keeping Trump's campaign promises would increase the national debt by $5.8 trillion over 10 years, while Harris's would cost $1.2 trillion. Yeah, no. That's more like $2 trillion, as a matter of fact, not 1.2, because they're leaving out a lot from the Kamala Harris economic plan. And they're, as a matter of fact, once again, they're basing this number off of current spending levels, which is insane. Just outright insane. They're just totally forgetting about current budgets, right? Like when Donald Trump comes in, right, knowing how the economy has been, his budgets, he's going to make sure the heads of all his departments, all of his budgets aren't in a deficit. So that just blows this whole article away right there. Just that. Just knowing that, look, we've got a deficit problem. We've got a spending problem. We need to get the economy back on track. We can't be spending in a deficit. So, boom. That just goes away. And you love how they do the estimates. Over 10 years. Hang on. Donald Trump's only president for 4. So, where are you getting the 10 years from there, buddy? Ridiculous. If the policies are scored using dynamic pricing that reflects increased tax revenues from policies that increase economic activity, the gap shrinks a little, with Trump's promises costing $4.1 trillion to Harris's $2 trillion. You see how they try to get you? They try to fool you. They try to throw those numbers out there right quick, thinking, maybe they won't read down, but yeah, maybe they will. And if they do, it's just, we can just brush that off as dynamic pricing. Like, come on, man, come on. Between the lines, the biggest differences between the two candidates is the question of what happens to Trump's tax cuts, which are due to expire at the end of 2025. Trump would extend them, but Harris wouldn't. Oh, there we go. That's where they're basing these numbers off of. Like 5.8 trillion. Come on, that makes no sense whatsoever. What they're doing is they're basing these numbers, right, the Kamala Harris numbers at least, basing it on the fact that she's not going to allow those tax cuts to go through. She's going to raise taxes, right? That's what they're not telling you, folks. They don't tell you this throughout the whole article, I don't believe. At least I don't remember. I read over it once. I don't remember seeing anything about them saying that Kamala Harris is going to raise taxes, which they most certainly are, right? That Biden is proposing, and so is Kamala Harris, as a matter of fact. They're just not telling you about it. Taxing unrealized gains. Now, if you don't know about unrealized gains, right, like if you have anything in the stock market, right, if you have a retirement, if you have a 401k, that deals with the stock market a lot, pretty much exclusively, right? So that means that taxing the unrealized gains, that means year over year, your 401ks, anything you have in the stock market, any kind of money you have, right? And it's not just the stock market, by the way, but any kind of, they're going to tax that year over year. So that's going to destroy your 401k, by the way. And also, property values. Yes, this is something else they proposed, and just leave out the details. But when you look into the details, yeah, property value goes up. That means your taxes year over year, as your property value goes up, they're going to tax the increase of the value of your property. That's an unrealized gain. That's what that means. That's exactly what that means. That is insane. Like, to think that anybody making over a certain amount of money who's going to be most affected by this tax policy right here would think to vote for Kamala Harris. It's just insane that they would do that, knowing this is what she's proposing. Of course, this is all based on if these policies even get through, if they even get enacted, because some of this you're going to need Congress, some of it you're not. But let's keep going. Extending the individual income tax cuts would cost $3.4 trillion over 10 years. Doing the same for the corporate income tax cuts would bring the total to over $4 trillion. On top of that, Trump wants to cut the corporate income tax even further to 15% from its current 21% at an estimated cost of $600 billion, and abolish the income tax on Social Security benefits, which would cost another $1.2 trillion. So what, right? Why are we taxing Social Security anyway? That's the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever heard, because you get taxed, you put money into this thing your whole life. You got to pay taxes. And then you get taxed on the money when they give it to you, when the government gives you this money, right? This is one reason why Social Security is ridiculous. It's just stupid. The system setup they have for it right now is retarded, to be blunt about it. It just doesn't make sense. It's going to go bankrupt by 2033 currently if we don't make some major changes to it. Right? But the way it's set up, you always need more people paying into it than you are paying out of it. And with the way Democrats are running these days, you know, abortions and get your vasectomies and trans your kids to sterilize them and all this garbage, Yeah, we're under replacement right now. We're in a replacement crisis, as a matter of fact. I think the replacement levels are like 1.4% or 1.5%, which means our population isn't getting replaced, which means it's shrinking. This could be one reason why they keep bringing in millions upon millions of criminal aliens. But guess what, folks? They're subsidizing these people, so that doesn't matter, right? If they were bringing them in and they were getting jobs and paying their taxes just like everybody else, that would be one thing. However, they're subsidizing these people. They're giving them thousands of dollars a month, hotel rooms, school gymnasiums, blah, 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 where they stay. They're keeping these people. They're subsidizing criminal aliens, essentially. So hang on, that's more government spending. That's not them paying into Social Security or them paying into the economy at all, right? Like, not all of them, but a lot of them, as a matter of fact, which is just ridiculous. This is something that Trump would stop doing. So there's a spending cut just right there that they're not factoring in all this. Budgets, folks. These people are trying to lie to you. The corporate press is evil. Axios, this person, whoever wrote this up, is evil. They're just trying to propagandize everybody. It's just insane to me. The other side, Harris, by contrast, wants to increase the corporate income tax to 28%, which would raise $1.1 trillion for the public fisc. You love how they put that. But once again, what they're not telling you is by raising the corporate tax rate, hang on, these corporations aren't stupid. Okay, so they're either going to reinvest into their company and expand their company, which could be a good thing, or they're going to leave the country outright because they don't want to get taxed into oblivion. Increasing the corporate taxes, they'll leave the country. They can still sell products just like they do. That, or they'll raise the costs of their products. Right? Like, it's a lose-lose all the way around. It's just ridiculous for these people. Don't think about this. Democrats just want to tax everybody. Why? Because they're communists. We already saw the Kamala Harris policy position that she wants price controls. That's communism, folks. You can't do that. You're going to create massive shortages in everything that you put price controls on, right? But that's the thing. You talk to an economist, you can't just put price controls on groceries. You can't do that. You're going to have insane runaway effects here. It just doesn't work. You got to price control everything. You've got to do that. Otherwise, you have runaway inflation, which we can't be having that, folks. Like, especially right now, we're trying to recover our economy. We're not trying to raise inflation even more. It's just the most insane thing. Socialism, communism has never worked anywhere, right? Like China, they call them the Chinese Communist Party, right? But they use a blended system just like we do. They have more control over their people, right? They're more socially communists and less economically communist. They're more economically capitalist. But they've got like credit scores, social credit scores and all that good garbage that nobody really wants. I think is ridiculous. Like, how are you going to do that, right? Like, if you don't pander to the Communist Party, you get a lower social credit score. That means you can't go places. You can't buy certain things. You get less money. It's just ridiculous. But these people, once again, they're lying to you, but that's what I'm here for, y'all. That's more than enough to pay for the cost of increasing the child tax credit to $6,000 for newborns, for expanding the earned income tax credit, for extending the tax credit that currently exists for health insurance premiums, and for providing down payment support for first-time home buyers. Between them, those policies would cost about $600 billion. Harris has one other very large proposed expense, however, which is raising the child tax credit to $3,000 for children over 5 years old and $3,600 for children age 5 and younger. It currently stands at $2,000 and is set to drop to $1,000 in 2026. That policy would cost $1.7 trillion over a decade. Once again, why do they do that? over a decade. She's only going to be president for at the most 8 years. That's even if she wins. I saw a statistic earlier that said no incumbent vice president has been elected since 1836. Just an interesting little factoid there for you. By the numbers. The Wharton study concludes that the Trump proposals would increase the national debt by 9.3% above its current trajectory by 2034 and by 12.7% by 2054. Why are they projecting that far out? That makes no sense. 12.7%. Like, they have no idea what's going to happen 4 years from now. They don't have any idea what's going to happen 1 year from now. They don't even know if Trump's going to get in. But, aside from that, after the 4 years, we don't know what's going to happen. Why would you propagandize people by telling them, oh, Trump's going to raise the national debt by 12.7% over the next 30 freaking years? It's insane. Propaganda. But you get these low IQ people that come in and read this like, oh my God, Trump's bad. Totally forgetting about any of this stuff that I've mentioned, or not even thinking about this stuff that I've mentioned, because logic doesn't work on a lot of people for some reason. Don't know why. But not even thinking that, hey, hang on, the economy was really good under Trump. I wonder why that is. No, they don't care about that. The only bad thing people have to say about Trump, they never talk bad about his economy. They never talk bad about his domestic policy. They never, ever talk bad about his foreign policy, because honestly, he had the best foreign policy I've ever seen in my entire life. Best president of my life as far as foreign policy. And that's really what the president does. I mean, Congress controls the laws that we have to live by. So that's your domestic policy right there. Right? The federal government, the president, they're in charge of law enforcement, upholding the Constitution, essentially, and foreign policy, controlling the military. That's what the president does. The president doesn't do anything else besides, or shouldn't do anything else besides that. Which, by the way, under Donald Trump, we will probably get less federal government, because, once again, they're not taking this into account here, that he wants to get rid of things like the Department of Education. You know how many hundreds of billions of dollars, or at least dozens of billions of dollars that would be back into our economy of taxpayer dollars. Stuff we don't need the Department of Education. They don't do nothing but propagandize and brainwash children. That's all they're doing with their garbage. I mean, what have they done good for the public ever? Somebody let me know down in the comments. I would love to know that one. The equivalent numbers for the Harris proposals are 4.4% and 7.7% respectively. BS. Trump's proposals would see U.S. GDP fall by relatively a modest 0.4% relative to the current baseline by 2034. Now, that's interesting, because I read a different article that proposed with Trump's policies that GDP would go up by 4%. Where are y'all getting this 0.4%? That's just an interesting number to me. The Harris proposals mean a slightly larger decrease of 1.3%. That's interesting. So I wonder why, if Kamala Harris is saving us all this money from what they're telling us in this article, saving us all this money, why is the GDP going to fall by a lot more? By a whole lot more. It's over twice. That's interesting, right? Because they're lying to you. That's why. Follow the money. Here we go. The top 1% would see their post-tax income rise by $47,000 in 2026 under Trump, compared to the fall of $9,000 under Harris. Interestingly enough, what they're not telling you is that under Donald Trump's proposals, their post-tax income would rise. Everybody's. Not just the top 1%, not just the top 20%, the top 100%. everybody. But once again, like I said, you research into this, under Harris, only the top 1% would rise by a little bit. Not much. Not much at all. And everybody else stagnates. Yeah, that's what you get with the Biden-Harris administration. Stagnation. Speaking of the Biden-Harris administration, my next video is covering just that. Some insanity coming from Politico, by the way. You got to catch my next video. It's going to be great. It'll come out tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. So be sure to tune in and check that out, y'all. The median household would see an income gain of about $2,000 per year under both plans. Lies. The bottom line, if the GOP was ever a party committed to reducing the national debt, it's not anymore. Like I said, they're basing this on nothing. They're basing this on BS. Once again, basing this on current numbers. Right? Basing Donald Trump's economic plans on current spending and on current numbers. It's a lie, folks. It's all just propaganda and BS. That's what the corporate press gives you. And I do believe I have proven that outright with this article. Y'all let me know, though. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this. This is just insane to me. But let's talk about some stuff right quick. You know, if you want to click off the video, whatever. Don't care. Actually, I do care. I wish you would stay and watch the whole video all the way through. That would be nice. But, you know, some people click off the video, so it's whatever. But, you know, let's talk about Trump right quick. I really hope I don't have to get onto YouTube and rail against Donald Trump. I don't want to have to do that. I really hope he comes in and fixes our deficit spending problem, because that is the most insane thing to me. Like, you guys out there, y'all know, you can't go spend more money than what you make. Per week, per month, per whatever. Doesn't matter. You can't spend more than what you make. Why is the government allowed to do so? Right? They're raising inflation, right? They're devaluing our dollar upon the issuance of debt to them for their pet projects. It's garbage, folks. I just can't stand this. Y'all know I had to rail on $1.7 trillion deficit spending before the end of this video. I just had to do it, so, you know, you guys know I love railing about that, because it's the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen in my entire life. How the hell can you spend $1.7 trillion more than what you take in? That's insane. Why would anybody in their right mind vote yes for that? And every Democrat voted yes for that, and most Republicans did as well. That's crazy to me. That's insane if you think about it. Republicans, the people that are supposed to be fiscally responsible, y'all, are voting for $1.7 trillion in deficit spending. Right? They have the power. They absolutely have the power to veto, to not pass the federal government's budgets. Budget comes in at $1.7 trillion more than what they take in. Congress could look at that and say, are you out of your freaking mind? And not pass it. Then guess what? They got to revise their budgets. And they could get, you know, the House Speaker or whatever, tell the White House directly, look, make sure your budgets don't come in at $1.7 trillion over than what we take in. Make sure your budget comes in at exactly what we take in. And then we'll pass it. That's what they should do. But they don't do that. They don't do that at all. And it's crazy to me. Why not? What's the blood clot here? I don't get it, y'all, but I've railed on for long enough on this one. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. And that's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.